Hello, everyone, and welcome to the debut edition of the Gorilla Press. This is an exciting new news show. I know there's a lot of news shows on YouTube and a lot of news shows about wrestling, but we're looking to do something a bit different here at the Talking Crap podcast. So we're still having great episodes coming up for season 2 continuing very, very soon. But in the meantime, we decided to separate the news. We felt that we don't really get a lot of time to discuss the news. You know, it's always kind of like a 5-minute thing of like this happened, this happened, this happened. So we now have a separate news show on every Wednesday for the Gorilla Press, and it will feature obviously maybe 2 of us, maybe 3 of us here at the Talking Crap team. So today, obviously, it's myself, Lucas Jackson, joined by Champagne Charlie, and
hello, everybody.
So our top story, or our story we'll leave with today, is about Muhammad Ali. Then that would have been a very
Mustafa Ali.
Mustafa Ali is the leader of Retribution. This went down on this week's episode of Monday Night Raw. A bit of a limp episode of Monday Night Raw, to be fair. But this was one of the kind of headline-grabbing moments that Mustafa Ali is the leader of the stable Retribution. This went down after there was a tag match, so there's a singles match, between Mustafa Ali and MVP that ended with an interruption by Retribution. And that was similar to what happened last week on Monday Night Raw, where MVP, the Hurt Business match, got the interruption from the Titantron by Retribution, and then Mustafa Ali ends up pinning MVP. On this occasion, though, they were all kind of in the ring, and it looked like, oh dear, Retribution are all going to come and storm the ring and get them all. But what happened is Mustafa Ali decided to bail on the Hurt Business. He went to the outside, and we thought he was lamb to the slaughter, we thought. But lo and behold, he gave a cheeky little grin, and before we knew it, the Hurt Business won the end of quite a vicious beating. So,
yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
let's go. What do you think?
This is I'm kind of split down the middle with this, because I understand, you're them choosing Mustafa Ali for this, because I'm sorry, but they've not really been using him that much, have they? No. In quite a long time. I mean, yeah, they may have put him over some of the last year, but that was it. I mean, you haven't seen or heard anything relevant about him within about a year or so. With that being said, though, making him the leader of the Retribution. Now, I watched when the Retribution revealed themselves, about a week ago, because there was all this talk about, oh, who are they? Who are they? Everybody knew it was going to be like some sort of, it was some call-up from NXT, okay? But that whole segment that they did when they finally revealed who they are was absolutely awful, okay? It really was. I mean, Vince McMahon should write a book, how to bury promising talent in 5 minutes or less. So there we go. Yeah,
co-written by Vince Russo, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, that's what I think of it. I mean, good for them doing something with Ali, but I don't think it's a good vehicle for him to be in. So
yeah, I think with Retribution, the ship sailed when. Obviously, usually with these things, like when you have these hidden attacks or mystery attacks, whatever, there's already kind of a rumor going around about a big-ish name returning. And obviously, way back in the past, talking about 15 years ago now, it would be, oh, it's The Undertaker, it's Kane, it's Triple H, it's Big Show, it's someone with some sort of name value. But obviously now, with obviously the pandemic and with everything that's going on, we kind of know, and because we know the ins and outs of that company at the moment, we knew it was going to be a bit kind of a bit underwhelming. The difficulty here is that they need to push new stars, and so it is good to see new stars in this vehicle, and so perhaps it's something which we should be a bit more kind of lenient with. But at the moment, for me personally, there's not enough to kind of grip me as being like, oh, this is a must-see stable in the same way that I thought
absolutely not. When they first made their first appearance as Retribution, by destroying the ring, beating up announcers and stuff. Yeah, Nexus did that 10 years ago. Okay, and that eventually crashed and burned. So there we are. Yeah. So it's only a matter of time before this crashes and burns. Yeah. Actually, I think it already has crashed and burned. But
I think they're trying to use Ali as a kind of something just to link it all in. I think as well, maybe if they were to link in, this is where they could get smart. And I don't even remember John and Charlie earlier in the year when they had the vignettes with the SmackDown hacker. Area.
Oh yes, I remember that. I remember that.
Stuff. and it was meant to
Oh,
be
so you
Ali.
think this links into that? You think this
Yeah,
links into that?
I think this is where they could do some of their really extreme kind of world building they sometimes do. And when they were to link this all together, it could somewhat salvage it a little bit. It'd be
Yeah, because there was
interesting
all
to see.
these rumors about who that hacker was supposed to be and stuff. So
Well, it was meant to be Mustafa Ali. Like that was the main person who's rumored. And then when they moved into
mm,
Monday Night Raw, it was seen as like, oh well, is the story going to continue on Raw? You know, because they moved him and they also moved. Then they moved Dolph Ziggler to Raw. And obviously Dolph Ziggler was one of the
yeah,
targets or one of the victims basically of this, wasn't he? Of this storyline. But obviously they dropped that part of
yeah,
it. But look, I think it's good to have something new. But let's see, perhaps if they can now steer this away from the badness
yeah.
that
They
it's
may.
had.
Who knows? They may come back with it, and it may take off in a big way. But from what I've seen so far, I'm not a fan. So
Not a fan. Right, let's go something. Let's move on to something that you are a fan of. And I know you got some news from AEW regarding a interesting stipulation match.
yes, this week we have the rematch for the TNT title. Brody Lee from the Dark Order defending it against the returning Cody in a dog collar match. Now, for those of you who don't know what dog collar matches are, it's very simple. They're no disqualification matches, but each competitor has a dog collar around their neck, and from their neck is a chain, and the chains connect to each other from the said dog collars, that kind of thing. The pinfall first to a pinfall or submission, but the chain is completely legal. And I've been doing my research this week. I've been watching some old dog collar matches. They're very rare, these
Yeah.
matches, but they do get very brutal. The most famous dog collar match in history took place back in the 70s. It was Roddy Piper versus Greg the Hammer Valentine. And I've seen more recent ones. The most famous recent one was back in 2003 for the Ring of Honor, CM Punk versus Raven,
Yeah.
and blood was everywhere for this. And I've seen matches with Cody and Brody Lee, separately, of course. They're not afraid to bleed, so I think this is going to be a bloody one this week.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also Jericho and Perry Saturn had one WCW, I believe.
Yeah, that was on that uncensored WCW that they tried to do when they tried to push a hardcore element. But it didn't really work in WCW.
It didn't really work. But I mean, it's one of those stipulation matches which is a bit kind of headline grabbing, just for the sense of it being so rare, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
I think
It kind of falls in the same tracks as bull rope matches, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that kind of novelty.
Yeah, or even like strap matches, to be fair, as well, but it's still that kind of tethered to your opponent kind of thing. I think there's something very interesting
This is
about
around the neck, though, so this is quite.
Yeah, it's even more extreme. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm just hoping that obviously, this match does stay somewhat safe. As much as I think it is important to see these brawls, and I'm glad that style is somewhat coming back. Obviously, with the stuff that happened with Matt Hardy last month and stuff, let's just try to rein it in a little bit.
With Brody Lee, though, I think Brody Lee's looking to be that kind of extreme because this is me being the wrestling historian here. The way Brody Lee's style is, and just his look as well, he's been compared to basically the modern day version of Bruiser Brody.
Yeah.
And Bruiser Brody, for those of you who don't know who he is, look up his matches. They're insane. There was never a time when that man wasn't bleeding. He would come to the ring swinging a chain around, that kind of thing. His matches with Abdullah the Butcher, just absolutely intense. So, but there we are. I think he's trying to adopt that kind of style.
I think as well because obviously, how he was kind of introduced into AEW was kind of a way to mock Mr. McMahon.
Yeah.
And so I think he's trying to go the complete opposite from that now.
So they don't see it as being petty. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I think he needs to find himself as a wrestler, I'm guessing. Obviously, after years of being obviously a Wyatt family member, then kind of just stuck with that gimmick, which obviously, let's be honest, he made money out of it, so he can't complain too much. He now wants to find himself as a wrestler. And so, I think, this will be a attention kind of grabbing thing, a ratings grabbing thing for AEW going forward. Which brings back things to NXT for quickly, just to give some updates on a couple of injuries over the weekend, more NXT injuries, and involving NXT champion as well. Finn Balor suffered a broken jaw. This seemed to be from a knee that was given in the main event of NXT TakeOver 31, which was between Finn Balor and his opponent, who was also injured, Kyle O'Reilly. and these two did not hold back their blows. Probably in WWE terms, at least, probably some of the most kind of stiff, extreme kind of strikes that you're going to see between these two. But it seems, sadly, that O'Reilly has broken a couple of teeth, and so obviously, while that's a minor injury, and
same thing happened to Timothy Thatcher a few months ago, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And Cesaro very famously had his teeth completely, and he had to have braces about 3 years, I think it was, wasn't it? Braces and corrective surgery and stuff.
Something like that, yeah.
It's one of those things where I guess O'Reilly, he'll get those sorted and or perhaps not sorted. Sometimes they like that, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, Joseph Park, who played Abyss, and he lost his front ones there. He had dentures put in, but when he would wrestle as Abyss, he would wrestle without them. So, yeah.
So yeah, Finn Balor, he has suffered a broken jaw, and so it is one of the things he will need surgery, and so this is very worrying because he is the NXT champion. He did win, and they've
already, also already Karrion Kross on the sidelines had to give up the belt. Yeah. So now it seems they might have to restart this process all over again.
Yeah, so it's very kind of, obviously we don't wish anyone to have injury in this, and so obviously. Hopefully they both, obviously, I'm assuming Kyle O'Reilly's probably fixed already, but if he's not, please get bail soon. And perhaps it should just sign, like, let's just maybe comment a little bit. You had a good main event, but let's not leave each other in the hospital. Maybe they saw the ambulance match take place and thought that was
they had to beat.
They had to actually really send someone to the ambulance hospital. Sticking with NXT, they are doing the Halloween Havoc event hosted by Shotzi Blackheart. That's going down on the weekly episode of NXT on the 28th of October, so that's the one before Halloween. Halloween this year is on a Saturday. And it just seemed that, following early in the year they had In Your House, that perhaps they're going for some sort of 90s throwback vibe. And it had
this is not the first time they've brought back an old WCW title, have they? I mean, with the whole War Games thing, because War Games used to be it wasn't a pay-per-view, but it was a big moment in old WCW history, just as Halloween Havoc is. You know what I mean? But by the way, totally unrelated, Halloween Havoc once hosted one of the worst matches of all time, but that's a different story.
Hogan and Warrior, for those of you, I think.
Exactly, yeah. But this thing, it's I understand WWE owns all those rights to WCW, but this, I think, is also using as a cheap shot towards AEW, because Cody has stated time and time again how his dad, Dusty, came up with a lot of those pay-per-view names, that kind of. I mean, they even took their old Bash at the Beach thing back, didn't they, earlier this year? So that's why I think this is like another, trying to, say, oh, I own this, so screw you guys, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I get that too. I get that feeling from it too. I think that they are trying to get creative with NXT, which I think is good. So it's hard. It's hard because when you have a name like, if you were to say, let's have a Halloween show, and when in your vault you have the name Halloween Havoc, you're not going to find anything better than that.
No, you're not.
And so
we have Trick or Yeet. That's the best we came up with. So.
And that was the DKW show last year, wasn't it?
Yes.
Was very trendy, you see.
Hashtag follow DKW.
I'll put the link below. But yeah, I think it's just like a special thing they're doing, and it might, again, they're thinking of the ratings, I guess. I don't know. I guess like I don't like talking about the ratings too much because it's a bit boring. We don't work in television, so it's like, I don't see why wrestling fans are obsessed.
Yeah, because obviously what it is, unfortunately, because we're in the UK, we don't get the same viewing privileges as they do over in the US. If we want to watch WWE, we have to subscribe to the network. Obviously, I mean, or we could wait until the small hours of the morning to watch it on Sky Sports. But
BT Sports now.
BT Sports, sorry, yeah. And as far as AEW goes, we have to wait 4 or 5 days for it to come on ITV4. Even then, we have to like buy Fight Network privileges.
But NXT Halloween Havoc. Obviously, it'd be interesting to see how they build up. I guess they might have the factor in the bin injury, perhaps, if they're going to do something. Yeah. So, but anyway, AEW have a pay-per-view coming up, and is it Full Gear, I believe?
Yeah, Full Gear on November 7th, which falls on a Saturday. All their pay-per-views fall on a Saturday, so.
Same days as like the takeovers. Well, usually takeovers do.
Pretty much, they go head to head sometimes. So yeah. Anyway, what's been announced for Full Gear so far is for a tournament to see who the next number one contender will be for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. And the final is set to take place at Full Gear.
Okay.
So far, though, only 3 contestants have been announced. Now, more will probably be announced tonight because this is, like I said, we're filming this on the Wednesday and AEW Dynamite is on this evening. So the 3 contestants that have been announced so far are Jungle Boy, Ray Phoenix, and Kenny Omega.
Okay.
Yeah. However, I feel because when they announced those contestants, the former tag team partner of Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, was on the commentary desk at the time, and he kind of reacted with great shock. So I think, as a way of pushing that kind of, the way that how they've split and gone their separate ways, and there's some sort of rift between them, I personally think the final will be between Kenny Omega and Hangman Page in the final at Full Gear.
Thing is, this brings it back to obviously last year, really, when it was Hangman Page who had the first. He was he lost to Jericho basically. He lost
to Jericho. Yeah.
I don't know what you call that person, really. They didn't win the title. And obviously, it brings it all kind of back because obviously a year later, and now obviously they've evolved obviously into this feud between Hangman Page and Kenny Omega, which is obviously part of the
the elite is kind of shattering here. So
yeah, it could be quite interesting, to be fair. I think it's good as well. Like, this is something, look, again, like, I'm not AEW's like massive fan all the time, but I do like how they set up number one contender stuff. I think that it's important, when it's done right like this. And it's nice to see a number one contenders match on a pay-per-view. It's very rare that happens. All I'm hoping, though, is tournaments recently, both in AEW and WWE, just for balance, seem to be really, really cursed. With people getting injured. We had last year's King of the Ring where there was like a double pinfall. They like
it made no sense that.
They like messing things up, and hopefully people stay like good. But I like tournaments though.
I like tournaments.
Yeah, I like tournaments. I think is it going to be done like over the next few weeks? I guess, and then obviously.
Over the next few weeks. I imagine. I think they'll probably start maybe one of the matches this week. I've not heard anything yet, but they're also going to obviously announce more of the combatants in the tournament as well, because obviously you can't do it with just 3 people. So yeah,
of course not.
I found another piece of news. I was scrolling on all sorts of things, YouTube, Google, and I came across an interview on YouTube this morning with interviewer Chris Van Villay, who's been doing quite good with wrestling interviews. He interviewed the legendary Jazz, famous for ECW and WWE, sorry, and she's officially announced her retirement.
So that was just yesterday, wasn't it? I think Jazz is one of those where I remember her obviously way back in the day. She was one of the first kind of women, I think, to push the wrestling element.
Absolutely. Yeah, some of her moves were unbelievable, and it was something that women at that time weren't doing. So.
Yeah, but now look, we're in a situation where we just talked about NXT being hosted by Shotzi Blackheart in a couple of weeks, woman.
Yeah.
We've got obviously massive women's feuds, definitely in WWE, Bayley and Sasha Banks and stuff. So but yeah, look, mad respect to Jazz, like, for being one of those women to first push the wrestling element of wrestling out there, and obviously along with Lita and Trish and Ivory, can't forget Ivory, and Holly. She really pushed the division forwards, after the Attitude Era and that early 2000 stuff. And people do get a chance, Victoria too, so I can't get her. People do get a chance to watch that kind of stuff around that time. Like,
Jazz was very, very special, because it's just such great physicality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she could move as well. Absolutely. I mean, some of us, the suplexes were unbelievable. Great submissions as well, and just an all-around badass as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, she appeared last year for AEW, didn't she, in one of their battle royals?
It was one of their battle royals, and she also had a long stint just before that as NWA Women's Champion. She was champion for, like, I don't know, I think 2 years or something like that. So. This was before NWA came back fully on YouTube, that kind of thing. They would used to have these house shows, but I would follow them on YouTube.
Okay.
They would do matches up, and it'd be phenomenal.
Mad respect for Jazz, and hopefully she
Congratulations, Jazz. Yeah.
Perhaps she can get like a coaching job or something at maybe either with AEW or WWE. I think there's a lot of
who knows.
There's a lot of things she could do. Become a producer, I guess. Obviously, it's hard now with they're not being a touring company, I guess, because they're not really hiring many people. But potentially at the new Capital Wrestling, Capital Wrestling Center or something, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, perhaps she can get a role there or something. But yeah, congrats to Jazz for that. We'll stick with women then. So since we've talked about women two stories, let's talk about the Impact potentially looking to bring back their women's tag belts. They were last seen in 2013, with the last champs famously being Eric Young
and ODB.
Yes, that Eric Young, the one with the penis, won the women's tag belts. And then looking back though, just for fairness here, I always like to be fair in these. WWE did have a set of these back in the 80s, that kind of went under the radar for a long time.
They became pointless. They became absolutely pointless after a while. So
it's frustrating because Impact, at one point, the Knockouts division was probably the strongest women's division.
Absolutely, but it started floundering as time went on. Those titles, those tag team women's titles, they were brought in literally, I think, just before Hogan and Bischoff were brought in.
Yeah, it was the end of 2009, I believe.
Yeah, 2009. And notice the second those two show up, everything starts going downhill.
Yeah, I mean, Impact's had, we got an Impact episode on the channel.
Back when it was known as just TNA, it was just TNA back then.
Yeah, so. We spoke a lot about Impact, and it is like a roller coaster. We're probably going to do another episode on Impact very soon, actually, to be fair. There's so much going to delve into this company history. But anyway, I think it might be like something they can do better this time round, and particularly because
if they get the right talent and don't use it as just a gimmick title, because that's what it got reduced to eventually. I mean, I can't recall a match where ODB and Eric Young actually defended the damn titles after winning them. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that they do them justice, and it's something which I guess it's only a rumor at the moment. By the way, like it's not something they announce that's going to happen. But obviously, with these things, usually it is a case that
they don't really have enough talent in order to do it.
They don't, not women, not female talent anyway.
I mean, they've got some really great women wrestlers there right now. It's not. There's not enough there to sustain a tag team division for the women's. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. So yeah, pushing back to AEW though, they announced the BTE Championship.
Yeah, this was on an episode of Being the Elite. For those that don't know what Being the Elite is, it's a YouTube series that was created by, of course, the Elite. The Young Bucks, Cody, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, and it doesn't just include them. It includes quite a lot of the wrestlers at AEW, just hanging out, having fun backstage, chatting. Basically, it's like their everyday life, away from the squared circle. Anyway, a section came up where Brandon Cutler comes into the Young Bucks dressing room, and he has with him this championship he's created, the BTE Championship. Basically, this is just weird. It's a pointless championship. It does look nice, but basically Brandon Cutler says it doesn't have to be defended in just matches. It can be used in all sorts of contests. So I don't think this will show up on Dynamite. I think this will just be a BTE exclusive where you'll see people trying to pin people in parking lots during a basketball game. All these like kind of stupid things that pop up. In a way, kind of like the 24/7 title. You know what I mean? But they might even do more of it. Like I said, it can be defended in different kinds of contests, not just wrestling matches. So I don't know what's going to come. It only got announced this past week, and I'm a bit hazy about it. It's like, it's I don't know.
Yeah, look, I think they're trying to show they've got a fun side, and I think obviously that they, as much as AEW and any other company kind of criticize WWE for some of these silly stuff, like they can't deny some of the YouTube hits.
Being the Elite is kind of silly. Being the Elite is kind of silly.
Yeah. So I think if it fits their tone, I guess. But I think obviously you know, if you look at some of the R-Truth segments, you know, this 24/7 championship, like
Pretty much, yeah.
they are massive views on YouTube because they're 30-second 1-minute clips you can show you show your buddy at work, you know.
Yeah, they've now got like a
these,
compilation of all those wins, haven't they? So
yeah, and so it's one of those kind of cool things you can just kind of throw on and, you know, share about. I guess share about the office
50 times now or something, or
I think it's 42 at the moment. Yeah.
Well, I was close.
Yeah, both.
So.
Yeah. But look, I think it's fun. It might be a little bit of a dig. It might not be a little bit of a dig. You never know nowadays. But
we don't know. Like so, we won't know until we see more of this on Being the Elite, which takes place on on Mondays on YouTube. So.
Yeah, I do think you're right, though. It might just be for their YouTube show, not for Dynamite, because I think it would be a bit odd.
Yeah, because they've got enough titles now on Dynamite. So adding this to it would just confuse people, I think. You've got quite a strong, champions base right now with the world title, TNT. People were unsure about the TNT title at first, but now I think people have come round to it now that they've improved the design and stuff and the quality of the matches as well. So.
Well, I think it's good having that TV championship, like to main event your show, like kind of on a regular basis. I think that's good.
You need what's called like a workhorse title, that kind of thing, because like in WWE years ago, I mean, it was like the Intercontinental Championship. If you were to get that working horse title, it guaranteed you a shot at stepping up to actually get up to the big time. So I think that's what the TNT title is kind of like becoming. So.
No, yeah, that's good. So I'll. We'll quickly discuss this before we go into our kind of main last point. MLW have got a UK TV deal. I think with a sports channel, I believe it's on the Freeview.
Yeah, that's your source. The source I got was with also like kind of AEW with Fight TV. So we'll have to dig into this more. But yeah, the crux of the story is MLW, which stands for Major League Wrestling, have got a television deal. Now they've. There was an argument between us yesterday. Well, not really an argument, but it was like, are they indie or are they a main company? They have a YouTube deal, kind of like NWA has. So I don't. It kind of makes them. I like to use the word sub-indie, that kind of thing, because there are a few talent who are unheard of on it, but yet you've got some well-established stars. Like they use a lot of people from Mexico on their show, like La Parca.
They have a deal, didn't they, with Triple A?
With Triple A in Mexico, yes. And they've launched some really good stars. Some of them have gone to WWE, like Timothy Thatcher, for example. Some of them have gone to AEW. An example being MJF.
Yeah,
they've got some really good champions there as well. Some really good champions. The heavyweight champion is Jacob Fatu, who is one of the cousins of in the Anoa'i family.
Yeah, which obviously could become very kind of relevant going forward. What's going on SmackDown with Roman Reigns and
they're tag team champions of the new Von Erichs. Ross and Marshall Von Erich, sons of the legendary Kevin Von Erich. So there's that kind of dynasty there. So
I think it's cool. It's something to be watching out for. I guess maybe might be a thing where they're on Fight TV and then they get delayed broadcasts perhaps because it's a freebie channel. So apparently, but they
have a huge playlist. They've done like hundreds of shows now on YouTube. MLW Fusion, that's the name of their main show. You can see this on YouTube for free. If you just type it in, they've had matches going back for quite a while now.
Not fair enough. It's something to get excited about. But obviously, our end story is going to be regarding the WWE Draft, 2020 Draft, which obviously takes place. It starts this Friday on SmackDown, and then concludes on Monday Night Raw next week. From sources that I've found, like it seems like there's not going to be many major changes, and there's not really a lot of returns kind of involved with this. Like we're not going to see kind of.
Well, that's sad because normally drafts are a great moment to surprise us, that kind of thing. So
yeah, it seems that this one, even word going on the company is that it's a kind of muted change of things, and I guess as well, because they've done
that's my interest on then.
They've done so many changes, throughout the year anyway. Like they brought obviously Apollo over to Raw, they brought Dolph and Mandy and Robert Roode over to Raw, and then they've made these changes. And AJ went to SmackDown, of course. That's with the biggest one, I guess.
The thing with the drafts is this, right? It's a chance for it's not just a chance to surprise fans, but it's also for a chance for the superstars to have a new lease on their careers. Because when the drafts, first came up, right? The first one being back in 2002, right? Some superstars went out on their own and flourished, but some careers kind of declined. You make some great ideas, but you also make terrible ideas. An example of a great idea was building new talent. In 2002, they started creating people like John Cena, Randy Orton, etc. With making two different brands. A bad idea was splitting up some of the tag teams like the Dudley Boys, etc. So that's what's going to happen again. You're going to get some good things happening and some bad things happening. It could really push a superstar in a certain way, but then you could see some superstars who'll just continue to go on the downward spiral and eventually not be seen ever again.
Yeah, I think obviously they've split a lot of tag teams up already, and then maybe they're teasing. They teased obviously Lucha House Party potentially, and they've teased obviously Andrade and Andrew
They have broken
Garza.
them up. That's not a tease. They have broken them up. I saw a post earlier today.
Oh, they
They've
have,
officially
okay.
broken them up. Yeah, so
Okay, so yeah, that might be another way to send things. This draft is interesting because will they include NXT? Will NXT somewhat get a presence?
I'm pretty sure NXT will be probably take part in it. I saw a post. I don't know what it was from, but I'm
it
pretty
seems
sure
that it's only one way though. It seems that it's very much people who will get called up from NXT, but there won't be people from Raw or SmackDown going to NXT. So I think something's
exactly. Like one-way ticket, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, literally a one-way ticket.
Yeah.
Let's pick 3 changes that we think is going to happen.
Okay.
I think that Kevin Owens will be drafted to SmackDown, so that he can continue his feud with the Fiend.
Yes.
I think that one of Andrade, now you've said what you've said, that one of Andrade or Angel Garza we're moving to the other brands. Most likely Angel Garza to SmackDown, as obviously Andrade with Charlotte, who is on Raw.
Yeah,
so I think they like to keep the couples together, and I don't see them drafting Charlotte to SmackDown. And I think they definitely need someone drafted from the Raw Women's Division to SmackDown, and so that's where they may send. I'm not sure of her injury status, but they may send Mickie James back to SmackDown. To kind of because that women's division is rough outside of Bayley and Sasha Banks, but those are my 3 picks. And also, sorry, I think Johnny Gargano is getting called up along with Candice LeRae, most likely to SmackDown. So I've got 4 picks technically. 4. You can have 4 if you want as well.
Okay. I agree with you on Angel Garza probably to SmackDown. Agree with that one. Again, Kevin Owens to Raw. I think Johnny Gargano will be called up, I think by himself. Sometimes they have done that where they've split people up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They did it with Nikki Cross and Killian Dane, didn't they, for a while?
Yeah.
So, because they're married, for those who don't know. So Johnny Gargano, SmackDown. And this is one, because he's kind of, he came back, but then he lost. And they sometimes do that. They have someone lose on the way out for NXT before they show up again. I think the Velveteen Dream will show up on Raw.
Yeah, this is interesting because obviously I don't want to go back into these allegations and stuff, but it seems very much WWE has taken the stance of we like the guy and we're going to support him. Because even this week, the Triple H again endorsed it. The thing is, I think though, if they're going to do that, the NXT roster needs something in return.
Absolutely.
So I make it sound really grim, don't I? Like they're going to sacrifice. Well, look, but guys, I mean, the draft is something which is obviously going to develop over the next few days. So what we might do, this is a maybe, we might try to put some posts up or maybe some shorter videos discussing more kind of draft news over the weekend. As obviously, it's a kind of big event that happens in WWE, and we need to get Porter's picks as well. And obviously, we're interested to hear what you think too. But anyway, that's kind of all the news wrapped up. We will be back next Wednesday for some more Guerrilla Press. Until then, I've been Lucas Jackson. We're joined by Champagne Charlie. You're watching Talk Crap YouTube channel. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.